With the state of the recent crypto pumps, we do have to address where is ETH in this picture and are there some opportunities around that? So in today's show, we're going to have a look at where Bitcoin is at, how far this rally could potentially go. Are things still in a good position to be buying, and a whole lot more? Make sure you smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Let's get straight into the show content. I'm going to race through this information, so let's get straight into it. Banter bubbles. A lot of the coins, of course, up on the daily, reclaiming a lot of those weekly losses that we had a couple of weeks ago, so wiping those out. We've actually seen the first break of structure, creating a higher high on most coins across the board on the daily time frame. And you know what that means? That means trend reversal and probable continuation back to new all-time highs. So what are going to be the best coins to get into? We'll talk about that in today's show. I'm going to give you an analysis on Ethereum, on Bitcoin, as well as some of the higher beta ETH plays. Well, if we look at the daily exchange volume, you can see it's slowly but surely attempting to trickle on towards the upside. And this was one of the major metrics that we were looking at to show signs of strength and legitimacy, at least, to this Bitcoin rally, and we wanted to see it volume backed. Well, if you do look at this breakout over here that we have from the downsloping trend line, the answer is it volume backed? And the answer is, of course, yes, it is volume backed. If you look at the bottom over there, you can see volume is rising on this breakout. That's good news. And you have it holding above, of course, the high volume profile over here at $96,678. That is all a good sign with an increase in volume as you broke structure, right? Clearing out that level over there. So all in all, that's looking good. Also, if you have a look over here at Bitcoin on the other daily chart that we have, once breaking that, we are supported by the 9 and 18 exponential moving average rising towards the upside above the yellow line, which means your pivot level is trending towards the upside. And that means it's RSI backed. The RSI is increasing, and that means bulls are in control. Simply put, bulls are in control. And if you look at what 𝗕𝗓𝗓 says over here, this is definitely something noteworthy to look at. Anytime that you see this from a strong psychological point within the market, this was a major psychological place for the market to be when Bitcoin was about to go into a major breakdown, right? And that is ultimately when you see Bitcoin putting in that bullish engulfing candle, right, on the high time frame charts like the weekly over there. That is a strong signal. So if we do have the move volume back, if we do have price above the RSI or above the pivot level, meaning the RSI trends towards the upside, that increases the probability that following that bullish engulfing candle on the weekly time frame, which has major significance, we would likely see continuation. And we spoke about this. If you do see that continuation, you are going to aggressively move up to $122,000 in pretty quick order. Now, that's going to do some magical things for the rest of the altcoin sector. And the primary reason for that, of course, is because altcoins move at a higher speed to Bitcoin. When Bitcoin goes down, altcoins go down even harder. When Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go up even quicker, right? So definitely something to pay attention to, which is what we'll discuss in today's show. The other important thing that I want to mention is we finally got liftoff over here. If you look at the Bollinger Band width percentile, it is officially rising, right? So that means volatility expansion is taking place. And naturally, as Bitcoin breaks out of the top of the trading range over here, which is that 104,000 on the weekly time frame, and you start to break and close candles above that, well, that's most certainly going to lift this off. That also means that you're going to have your stochastic RSI on the weekly trend towards the upside. And then you have volume backed, momentum backed, and volatility backed moves, right? Which is where you get the biggest and the best moves in the business. Now, the question is, well, what does that mean for the altcoin sector? Well, Total 3 is the best metric or index that we can utilize when trying to figure out what the altcoins are going to do next. And of course, this is coming off of a pretty major cup and handle formation with prices now grinding into that resistance zone just around that $1.15 trillion mark. And as soon as you start to get weekly candle closes above that, well, this will lead to that rapid expansion. And that's where your much anticipated altcoin season typically comes into play. So I do think that it's noteworthy to pay attention to the altcoin market, as we have been speaking about for quite a long period of time. But for those of you who are always conservative, waiting for final confirmations, well, you've essentially started to get to that place where you have those confirmations. Once we broke structure, this means a lot of money which was sidelined is now getting the green light go ahead to start to move into the crypto market. And I think naturally they're going to start to look towards the altcoins. The question is, what are going to be the best altcoins to look at? So remember the altcoin hype cycle. This is by Rec Capital over here, so shout out to him. typically follows these sine waves, right? You can actually measure using Fibonacci sine waves the ebbs and flows within the altcoin sector. And basically, we are here, right? We are here. This is going to be, end of January, beginning of February. Historically, that is the best time to be getting into the altcoins, because once Bitcoin makes that break and run for it towards the upside, you oftentimes see this continuation from the altcoin market through these ebbs and flows, right? And then there'll probably be a bit of profit taking coming into late March, beginning of April, and then it becomes a sell in May, go away scenario as you come down into May, right? Just like every single cycle, that is where the majority of the US go on their vacation breaks, right? May, June, July, and consequently, the big funds start to at least close shop, right? So something to pay attention to. Watch for those waves over there. It is in agreement with what we're seeing over here, which is on the cusp of a major breakout for the total 3 altcoin sector. Now, if you look at the funding rates, those have been fully reset. We've spoken about this a whole lot. Now we're getting volume back, momentum moves, and consequently, we would expect that this will slowly but surely tick up. But the best time to establish your altcoin positions is going to be when this is low, right? When there's hardly any at least funding, right? The funding is very, very low. So people aren't paying a lot of money to hold longs open because they are constantly getting wrecked. Now, once the majority of the people have been wrecked, that's where you want to start to get into the market. So these are the different phases, remember, discussed over here in Whale School. I will remind you, by the way, Whale School is completely free to join. You can use the link in the description below. Go through, have a look over here for Whale School. It is listed below. Click on that over there. Make sure that you sign up. You actually have 11 days left to join. We are going to be starting very, very, very soon. Hop in. We are almost at full capacity. The system can only handle a certain number of people, and we will be doing live live events each and every single week. We do it twice a week. You can learn how to trade like a whale in just 10 days. Going back to the money flow over here, this is typically the phases that things follow. Remember, Bitcoin runs first, then we have Ethereum, or you can put in there your favorite altcoin that's a top layer 1. Like maybe Solana, maybe 𝗬𝗢, right? So phase 2 is ETH, SOL, 𝗬𝗢. Those outperform, and then you start to run into the large caps, the overlap phase, and then altcoins go into full-blown altcoin season. Now, every single cycle, people underestimate how long it takes into the cycle, at least, before altcoins run. Altcoins typically only run in the last 6 months, the final 6 months of the crypto cycle. So if you are becoming disheartened by your altcoins not running, well, there is definitely hope, because Ethereum hasn't even yet broken out. We're going to talk about that today. Is ETH still a worthwhile play? ETH historically being one of the best blue chip plays when it comes to the altcoin sector. Is it still worth getting into ETH? And if so, if ETH is going to go up, are there better options to be looking for, right? That's what we can discuss over there, because seasonality-wise suggests that Ethereum has its best quarter ever in Q1 of the post-halving year, which is this year, right? So, and we can compare that, right? We can have a look at 2017. You can see putting in 518% gains, 2021, 160% gains, and now finally going into 2025, up only 3.73%. Is there a catch-up trade there? That is the question. Is there a catch-up trade for Ethereum? Only time will tell. But what I would say is, wait for confirmations. If you are looking to scale out of your Bitcoin into Ethereum, this has historically been what's happened. When I say historically, I mean recent history. Over the course of the last couple of years, it's been Ethereum sentiment is so bad, it's time to long. Ethereum sentiment is so bad, it's time to long. And so the story continues. And now we have the ETH BTC ratio getting absolutely clobbered back down to this level. Now, it is possible that it goes lower. This is going to be your absolute major support in the yellow box. If you do see something like that, that is true capitulation for the ETH BTC chart. Remember, ETH BTC is simply the ratio between Ethereum and Bitcoin, meaning that if this chart is going towards the downside, Ethereum is losing tremendous value against Bitcoin. And if this is going towards the upside, well, then Ethereum is gaining tremendous value against Bitcoin, and Ethereum is the better play to be in, right? Well, we always talk about taking your trades as close to the extremities as possible. You're now approaching that extremity, the bottom of a demand zone. You're approaching that level over there. Simultaneously, you're coming into the apex, the bottom of a falling wedge formation, which is historically a bearish chart pattern with a conservative target, which would take you all the way up here to the 0.08 level, meaning that you could potentially, if you get this trade right, of course, it depends when you take the trade, but if you get this trade right, you could stand to possibly double your Bitcoin holdings. Now, this is definitely always a risk. It's a little bit of a gamble, right? I don't necessarily encourage that you all exit your Bitcoin positions, but if you have spare capital available, it may be more worthwhile to start to look to things like Ethereum as opposed to Bitcoin at this point in the crypto cycle. Having established your positions early, like we did from $16,000 on Bitcoin, fair enough, continue to hodl those positions. But if you are looking to risk new capital, newly earned funds, it may be better to look towards the altcoin sector based on the various different metrics that we have discussed. And let's get into it, right? So where is Ethereum? Well, I found this pretty interesting because if you do just look at Ethereum, from a little bit more of a bird's eye view and zoom out a little bit, there is really the possibility for a inverse head and shoulders to form over here. The inverse head and shoulders has the same measured move, which would take you just short of $6,000. $5,715 is the number that you'd be targeting, and it would take you to the same level. That's the measured move of the inverse head and shoulders. Gives you the same measured move as what the rectangle, because you can view this as one massive reaccumulation range, right? So those give you the same levels. So to save time, I already drew it out. I mean, you're looking at something like that. That is your inverse head and shoulders formation, which is potentially forming on Ethereum, right? So basically any little pullbacks that come down, you can call this candle that occurred on Monday, the 13th of January, the, final shakeout candle. This is not to say that Ethereum cannot come back down towards the mid-range level over here. At the end of the day, you do not want to see that right shoulder taken out. Otherwise, of course, this could risk going much, much, much lower over there. So you're looking for major support at $3,000. The closer you can pick up Ethereum to $3,000, the better. But given what Bitcoin is showing in terms of volume backed, momentum backed, volatility backed, well, it's unlikely that you're going to move all the way down here. Instead, you probably start to see this crawl onwards and upwards. And the at least thesis will start to become, once this approaches the neckline over here, that everyone will start to be talking about the inverse head and shoulders over here on ETH. So do keep an eye on that. So the question remains, how significant are these chart patterns? Well, again, we do discuss this in Whale School. They don't have an as high hit rate when it comes to the inverse head and shoulders, but there are other patterns that have a pretty high hit rate, such as, for example, the ascending and descending triangles, well, ascending in a bullish scenario. And then we also look at these bull flags. Now, we are seeing some of these patterns playing out on Bitcoin, which means if Bitcoin does confirm the moves off of the bullish chart patterns, the likelihood is pretty high that you'll see Ethereum doing the same thing, right? Which means that you can give some validity to the inverse head and shoulders, right? Now, I would recommend, if you don't know what I'm talking about, jump into Whale School, guys. It is 100% free. As I mentioned, please jump into Whale School. I'll teach all of this over there. We'll do market relevant workshops given around the current market conditions, right? So we'll take the course content and we'll make it applicable to the current market conditions, during those live workshops, which are going to be twice a week, right? Learn to trade in 10 days. We do a workshop on a Wednesday and a Friday and another Wednesday and a Friday, and then you're done, right? You're completely done, and you should be up to scratch. So we'll wait for that to play out. Now, what are the high beta plays? If Ethereum is going to go up, there's always other coins that tend to trade at a higher beta or higher velocity than what Ethereum does. So the same way that if Bitcoin goes up, we see these altcoins move, right? Bitcoin goes up 5%, altcoins go up 15%. The same is true to the downside. Bitcoin goes down 5%, altcoins go down 15%, which means that there are a couple of coins. And I'm going to give these to you rapid fire, very, very quick. Smash the like button if you do appreciate the show content. Guys, it really, truly helps me to get the show content out there. And leave a comment below of what you think of this particular show and the picks that I've given. Now, the top higher beta plays that I'm looking at, rapid fire, just going through them very, very quickly, is 𝗓𝗓, right? 𝗓𝗓 against the USDT chart over here. It came perfectly into the demand zone. It's broken, of course, that downsloping trend line. It's reclaimed the yearly open over there. And this is looking like an absolute banger, getting ready for the next move up. We can take a fib-based extension over here from the low to the high, back down to the low. And this gives us a measured move target, which will come up to about the 1.618. So you could stand to make about 151% on this trade, whereas ETH is not going to give you those same types of gains. Now, the good news about this is that this has structurally been a much better looking chart anyways than Ethereum. So theoretically, you taking on a coin that has historically been a lot stronger and outperformed not only Ethereum, but Bitcoin. And it trades at a higher beta versus ETH, which means if ETH goes up, this should go up a whole lot more. So this is one of my top picks. I've allocated quite a sizable amount into my personal portfolio. And the other ones are going to be higher beta plays against 𝗕𝗚𝗓, right? So you kind of go down this risk curve. ETH, 𝗕𝗚𝗓. Next up, we have Andy over here. Very, very quickly, ascending triangle. I just showed you that chart pattern. These have very, very high probabilities of succeeding. And Andy is in this massive ascending triangle, which from low to high would give you a 347% move. So just to be clear, this is Andy on ETH. This is part of the Boys Club collection, which is Matt Fury's collection, right? Called the Boys Club. It consists of 𝗕𝗚𝗓, of Andy, of Landwolf. We have Landwolf with a fib-based extension, hitting the demand zone perfectly, breaking at least that downsloping trend line. We're still waiting for the break of structure, but ultimately this gives you to the 1.618 fib extension, a 344% move. And then the other one that we have over here is Bird Dog, right? This is going to be the dark horse, the flyer. Because it's a low market cap, it's only at about $5 million market cap, whereas the other coins are trading at much higher multiples, right? These are in the hundreds of millions and 𝗕𝗚𝗓 in the billions, which means it takes less money to move these coins, right? So that is Bird Dog reclaiming the bottom of the range low. You can do the math. If Bird Dog just goes to $50 million market cap, which is part of the Matt Fury Boys Club collection, you are looking at, of course, already a 10x trade over there. So you can, of course, trade a whole lot of these coins as well on 𝗬𝗥. And since ETH is kind of going to become a narrative, I think, in the next coming weeks, remember, you can win 10 ETH as well. So use the link in the description below, sign up to 𝗬𝗥, because 𝗬𝗥 is actually also offering, on top of that, sign-up bonuses when you do deposit. All the details will be listed below. So make sure that you sign up over there. And then, again, guys, I just want to remind you, Whale School, this is what you'll be learning. Take a screenshot of it. We'll be going through a whole bunch of different trading strategies, which will keep you safe and help you to profit through the rest of this cycle. So that is it from me. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all have a lovely day. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the show. Smash the like button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers for now.